Have you ever wondered about the impact of grief on the human life? This potent emotion, an unwelcome guest in our lives, is as universal as it is inevitable. It's an enigma that weaves its way through the tapestry of human existence, touching every life in one way or another. Grief, in all its raw intensity, shapes us, molds us, and yes, even breaks us. But it is through understanding this profound emotion that we can start to make sense of our experiences, and perhaps even learn to overcome them. In this journey, we're not alone. Throughout history, some of the greatest minds have grappled with the concept of grief, seeking answers to its mysteries. From the ancient philosophers to the modern thinkers, many have left us their wisdom on this intricate subject. So let's embark on this exploration together. Join us as we navigate through the ages, exploring the wisdom of philosophers on this profound human experience. Our journey begins in ancient times, where philosophers first started pondering the nature of grief. Among the ancients, Socrates, the renowned Athenian philosopher, held a unique view on grief. He believed that grief arises from ignorance. He reasoned that if we truly understood the nature of the world and life, we would realize that death is not something to mourn but a mere transition. This perspective encourages us to seek knowledge, understanding, and wisdom as a means to overcome grief. Turning to the Stoics, we encounter Seneca, a philosopher who had a slightly different view. He saw grief as a natural response to loss. However, he cautioned against excessive grief, likening it to self-inflicted torture. For Seneca, the key to overcoming grief was maintaining a balanced mind and accepting the inevitability of loss as a part of life's rhythm. Both Socrates and Seneca, though differing in their views, pointed toward the power of the mind in confronting grief. Socrates, with his emphasis on knowledge and understanding, and Seneca, with his focus on acceptance and balance, both advocated for a rational approach to dealing with grief. This ancient wisdom, though thousands of years old, remains relevant today. It invites us to approach grief not as an insurmountable obstacle, but as a part of life that can be understood, accepted, and ultimately overcome. As we can see, the ancients believed in the power of reason and acceptance in overcoming grief. As we move into the medieval and Renaissance periods, the philosophical landscape shifts. The medieval philosopher Thomas Aquinas saw grief not as a burden, but as an intrinsic part of our human nature. He believed that our sorrow was a reflection of the love we held for those we lost, and thus, not something to be avoided. Instead, Aquinas urged that we lean into our grief, allowing it to guide us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationships. As we step into the Renaissance, we meet Montaigne, a thinker who had a unique perspective on grief. He believed that by remembering those who have passed, we keep them alive in our hearts and minds. Montaigne encouraged us to honor our loved ones through remembrance, to share their stories and celebrate their lives as a way of processing our grief. These thinkers saw grief as an integral part of life, to be embraced rather than feared. In the modern era, philosophers have continued to grapple with the enigma of grief. As we journey through time, we encounter the thoughts of Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who believed deeply in the transformative power of grief. He viewed the pain of loss not as a debilitating force, but as an opportunity for profound personal growth. Nietzsche advised us to embrace our sorrow, to allow it to shape us, and ultimately, to help us become stronger and more resilient individuals. Fast forward to our contemporary age, we meet Judith Butler, a philosopher whose views on grief are somewhat intertwined with our social bonds. Butler suggests that grief, in its raw and unfiltered form, is a reflection of our connections with those we've lost. Grief to her is not a mere reaction to loss, but a testament to the love and bonds we shared with those no longer with us. To overcome grief, Butler prompts us to maintain these connections, to keep alive the memories and the love we shared. It's in this remembrance, this quiet honoring of the departed, that we find solace and healing. Grief then becomes not an end but a continuation of our relationship with the departed, in a new form. From Nietzsche's resilience-building perspective to Butler's connection-maintaining viewpoint, we see that modern philosophers urge us to face grief head-on. They see it not as a debilitating force, but as a pathway to growth and connection. From Nietzsche to Butler, modern philosophers urge us to face grief head-on, seeing it as a pathway to growth and connection. As we journey through time, it's clear that philosophers have grappled with grief in their unique ways, From the ancient Stoics, who taught us to accept fate, to the Renaissance thinkers advocating for the expression of sorrow, and modern philosophers urging us to find meaning in loss. These varied perspectives show the importance of understanding and confronting grief. Through these lenses, we can garner strength and resilience. In the words of philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, that which does not kill us makes us stronger, so too perhaps can our encounters with grief.